Alright, this is lesson 17 for 8th grade, and today we're backtracking a little bit, just a little review again. Rounding and estimating was the topic for today. So I had a few examples for us to go over, and some definitions to look at. We round whole numbers by finding a nearby number that ends with 1 or more zeros. Not the best definition in the world. The best thing to do is learn this by example. But for example, we might round 188 to 190 or to 200, depending on whether we were rounding to the nearest 10 or the nearest 100. So it's really going to depend on which place value we would like to round to. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is battle. We need to figure out which place value we're talking about here. Yes, this was one of my classes for 7th grade, so they wouldn't be on this lesson, but had they been clicking in, their names would disappear as they go on. This was my last class, and they showed up. I guess my 7th graders are showing up for this one. Alright, we're going to round 15,342,782 to the nearest million. Alright, so nearest million, first thing we have to do is find the millions place. Millions place is right here. Now, we're going to round that. It's either going to stay the same or it's going to go up. Now, in order to figure that out, we look at the next number, which is 3. We look at 3 there. If that number next to it is 5 or higher, we're going to round up. If it's 4 or less, we're going to keep it the same. Well, 3 is 4 or less, so we're going to keep it the same. And we should be seeing that we should get 15 million there. So that's the nearest million. If this was 5 or higher, we would have gone up to 16 million. Try one of those again. Now round 35,780,560 to the nearest 100,000. So now we're looking at the 100,000s right here. We look at our next number, which is 8. 8 is 5 or higher, so we're going to round up, and we should be seeing that we should get 35,800,000. So we'd round this up to 8. Everything else would be zeros. Alright? So some basic rounding there. And that would be the nearest 100,000. Alright, now round 3.14159, 3 decimal places. This is a very popular number. The most popular irrational number, which I mentioned yesterday. This is an approximation for pi, which we use with circles. Alright? It says to round to 3 decimal places. Now the confusion here is that when they say round to a certain amount of decimal places, they mean three spots to the right of the decimal. So we want, in our answer, we want 3 spots to the right of the decimal. So we go out to our third one. 1, 2, 3. We're looking here, which means that number will tell us whether or not we're going to round up or down. It is 5 or higher, so we're going to round up, and we should be looking at 3.142, or 3 and 142 thousandths. Alright? So see how we ended up with 3 spots to the right of the decimal. Oops. Alright. I don't have these clickered in. It says round each number to the nearest whole number. Okay, so whole number, we want to get a whole number answer here. 13 and 5/12. We're going to round that up, or we're going to keep it at 13. Well, 5/12 is not halfway because 6/12 is halfway. So this is less than half. So this would be 13 even. This one's a little different though. 13.5. We look here, and that is 5 or higher, so as a decimal, we're going to round that up to 14. So that 5 tells us to round up. This is different because it needs to be 6 or higher here. We need to be, if this is 1/2 or larger, so it'd have to be 6 over 12, 7 over 12, 8 over 12, or anything bigger than 1/2, and then we can round that up. That's why we rounded that one down, because it's 5 out of 12, which is less than half. Okay? Now, when we're going to estimate, it says to estimate is to determine an approximate value. Approximate, that's just kind of like a ballpark, but it's an educated ballpark guess or estimate. You'll see what we mean here. Now, the book here would tell us to round. Well, let's read it first. Tom is paid $11.85 per hour. About how much does he make in a year, or 52 weeks, if he works 40 hours a week? Now, what the book will have you do is they'll have you round everything before you go through this process. They'll round this up to $12. So, 8 tells us to round this up. So we've got $12. They would even round this down to 50. And 40 can stay the same. 40 is already rounded to a nice number. So the book would have us round all of these things. I myself, I'd prefer to keep this at 52. So when it comes down to it on a test or something, I'll accept either way. But if they give you that keyword about how much or about something, take advantage of it, because you can make the numbers much easier to work with. So about, that gives you the go ahead to estimate. And that way you don't have to get a exact answer. But anyway, if he's paid $12 per hour and he works 40 hours per week, let's figure out what he earns per week first. That would be 12 times 40. $12 an hour at 40 hours per week. 0, 8, 0. So about $480 per week. And there are about 50 weeks in a year. So we're going to do 50 times 40. Wait, not 40. Had a little lapse there. So 480 times 50. Sorry. So we've got $480 a week at 50 weeks a year. So we've got 0, 0, 40. So we're looking at about $24,000 a year. Right there. This would be your exact answer, I believe, or very close to it. For me, you can round when you really want to. I mean, there's so many different ways you could estimate a problem like this, so I'd be pretty lenient on that, and especially if you come and talk to me about it. So, just a little brief review on estimation and rounding, and I'll put the homework out on the link tonight, and we'll see you next time.